going? Got it. Possibly.
You need my help.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You guys are doing great. If I could do anything help.
Okay, I think we're connected.
think it
1, 2, 1. There we go. Okay. Never a dull moment. Does everyone else have a working mic?
Yes.
Or not have a plugged-in mic? Okay, great. Well then, let's call this a regular meeting of the Kalamazoo Township Board of Trustees to order at 7 o'clock exactly. Clerk Mackey, here to lead us in the pledge.
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We will proceed to a roll call of board members. Clerk Mackey.
Here.
I'm Supervisor Combs. Trustee Sherwood.
Here.
Trustee Leonard.
Here.
Treasurer Miller.
Here.
And noting that 2 trustees are absent, Trustee Robinson and Trustee Glass, motions would be in order to excuse.
I'll make that motion.
To excuse both?
Yes.
Fair enough. And there's support. Motion and support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening? Seeing none. We will proceed to our first of 2 public comment periods this evening. If you'd like to make a public comment, please feel free to step to the podium. Either podium will do. Let us know your name and address if you would, and you'll have 3 minutes to use as you choose.
Good evening. My name is Steve Ludi, 205 South Lauderdale in Kalamazoo Township. I wanted to just raise a point about the proposed ordinance for 645, number 645, concerning non-conforming uses for residential parcels. And I'm just going to learn more, keep my ears open, but I'm thinking that may relate somehow to previous, maybe roughly around 2012, when the Township Planning Commission took action to try to address problems in Lakewood where very narrow lots were being filled with a company was citing double-wide trailers on those parcels and leaving no room, hardly any room for cars to park there. So I wanted to make sure that if we do allow and encourage the development of non-conforming lots, that they also will be able to accommodate parking in a more organized way. And I think there are still 3 parcels in Lakewood that relate to that history. It may not have anything to do with tonight's business, but that's just my recollection. Then also I wanted to support the board again and mention how I appreciate your efforts for censoring the treasurer, both at the January 23rd meeting, special meeting, and tonight's proposed second motion, because legitimate questions are being asked in the community. How could a township treasurer be allowed to act improperly for 9 years? And why did the local Democratic Party endorse her candidacy 3 times? And why did 8,800 residents vote for her in the last election? So rather than playing politics and blaming others, I think it's most important for public servants to emphasize to residents to help them understand the findings of the special investigative report. And that included the notes that the treasurer isn't elected by the voters, and the board does not have the grounds to remove the treasurer. And the township spent several $1,000s hiring a coach and facilitators, which the treasurer did not participate in that, and quitted those efforts. And the township hired Raymond Company to audit internal financial controls. And in February 2025, they created a report with recommendations, but the treasurer failed to implement any of those recommendations. So those are examples of efforts the township has made in trying to improve the situation. And then multiple deputy treasurers and staff were able to cover the township's the treasurer's responsibilities and correct many of the mistakes. But it costs the township money when staff is distracted from their primary responsibilities, as well as the cost, I would say, roughly estimating to be $100,000 for audit fees, coaches, and legal fees. Since the last deputy left the township in August of 2025, staff has been unable to continue to cover that. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Other public comment? Please.
Hello, my name is Matthew McMichael. I live at the Hillcrest Acres Park, 1362 Red Maple Lane. I want to bring to the township's attention some concerns regarding this coming spring. As the snow thaws and we get warmer, if this coming spring is anything like the past few years, we are going to probably see a good hefty amount of storms. These storms have been getting intenser and have been moving gradually north from southern Kalamazoo and into northern Kalamazoo. Last year, we suffered a week-long blackout in my area. I think it's important that the township comes up with a plan to try and meet with neighboring townships, cities to develop a response, and also to put pressure on DTE from both state allies and local allies to make sure that they're prepared. I also think it would be a good idea to see about which public buildings can be used as shelters, storm shelters. My trailer park and a number of other homes, I'm sure, don't have basements. They don't have immediate access to a place to take shelter when tornado warnings go off or severe thunderstorms go off. So identifying hard, sturdy buildings that are within the public's domain, be it schools or other facilities, that people can go to during the storm so that they know they're safe, I think would be very helpful. On top of that, reaching out to possible businesses or religious centers such as churches, which a number of churches are very hard stone brick structures with partial basements, see if they're willing to volunteer as shelters of their own volition and make a process to make sure that they can qualify as a proper shelter. Additional to that, so that's my part on the storm preparation for this coming spring. But additionally, as we know, on the federal level, we have a very unpopular administration, very controversial. But with it, besides just unpopularity, it becomes a eroding of trust in federal, state, and local governments. This is been happening for a few decades with very unpopular presidencies and governors across the country, not just here in Michigan. And before Governor Whitmer, we also had a very unpopular governor. I think it's important to see what the township can do to help bring back trust and participation in our democratic government here locally, seeing about making sure that people are informed of activities. The newsletter, I have not been getting the newsletter for at least a year, or since I've lived in Kalamazoo Township. I just picked up Winter's copy off the desk. Notifying, possibly seeing if anyone brings up a petition, creating a process that lets.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Any other public comment? Seeing none in the room. Is there any public comment on Zoom? Thank you very much. With that, we will proceed to the consent agenda this evening. Clerk Mackey?
Thank you, Supervisor. Before I move adoption of the consent agenda, I'd like to make two corrections. First, there's a typo in the January 31st meeting minutes under item 3. Economic was misspelled. And second, in the January 26th work session meeting, in the first sentence, the date is incorrect and it should read January 26th. So with that, I will move to approve the amended consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent and supervisor.
Support.
There's a motion and support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. We will proceed to the public hearing and presentations. We have 2 this evening. So we'll begin with item A under the public hearing session. The ordinance number 645, amending the zoning ordinances, non-conforming use provisions, etc. Council, did you have anything you wanted to say about this?
Well, we've been through this ordinance quite a lot. It's been in the making for quite some time. We have attempted to show you in this very colorful page how this is all going to fit into the zoning ordinance book. The goal being that we're going to free up some of these vacant lots for construction of new single-family homes. We took a little bit of what was proposed initially as an overlay district, and we put that into
Thank you very much. There is before us in our packets a suggested motion, which would be in order, should this board see fit.
I will move to accept ordinance number 645, amending the zoning ordinances non-conforming use provisions, eliminating the merger clause, and expanding the ability to construct single-family residences on small lots and parcels in R1 and R2 district for first reading, scheduled for potential adoption on February 23rd, 2026.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Is there any discussion? I will jump in with just a quick point of discussion. I want to extend thanks to the Planning Commission. This item goes back as far as, and actually prior to, but for our board, to our previous annual retreat a little over a year ago, in our endeavor to just help facilitate buildable properties in Kalamazoo Township, of which we have been, of course, in short supply, as many communities are, and there are, I believe, 400, or in the ballpark of 400, buildable lots that this amendment will, should it be adopted on February 23rd, help to create both compliant and buildable lots. So thanks to the Planning Commission for their year of work to bring this forward. Is there any other discussion?
Just a comment in that it
Yep.
does address setbacks, so that is in here.
Okay.
That's good to see.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
That's a roll.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Hearing none, motion carries tentatively. I'm sorry, did you have something quick, Mackie?
I just saw roll call vote on here, and it says required no.
Required
so
no,
I'm-
right.
I apologize.
No worries. We do have a second, so that motion does carry for the minutes. We have a second public hearing, another proposed first reading this evening. Council, did you have anything to introduce this one?
Sure, I can tell you a
Thank
little bit about this. Probably 7 or 8 years ago, Hillside Gravel had come to the Township Planning Commission asking to rezone some parcels that are nearby its existing gravel mine. That did not go very far at the time. They decided they were gonna come back this year. When they brought it back, the Planning Commission very thoroughly investigated this and was concerned, not necessarily with the business that's going on right now, but what might happen after we're done. As we talked a little bit further, we received from them an offer to conditionally rezone, which I don't think this township has done, but it's pretty common anymore. It's a contract to zone. So basically what we have in front of you is an amendment to the zoning map for all of those parcels that it is presently operating on, as well as those, because there's several of them, that it has a possessory interest in or a, like a long-term lease available. So the goal is to kind of clean up this non-conforming use that's kind of been sprawling without us really paying good attention at the time, and then to allow this conditional rezone. The conditions are great because they've said, once they quit mining, they no longer use it, or if they sell to somebody outside of their family and their mining activity, that it will revert to the original zones. So what we have is what they indicated would be, we will mine it, and when we are done mining it, we will either return it to the original zoning districts, or if we happen to sell it, which was a big concern on the part of the Planning Commission, then it automatically reverts to the lower zoning ordinance, the one that's already in place. I did have to prepare a conditional rezone agreement. I sent it over to the Hillside a couple of months ago. I didn't really hear anything back, and I don't have like a contact at Hillside. I have their engineers, but I don't have their people. It just so happened Hillside was here last week, and I said, look, we gotta get that conditional rezone agreement signed before the township board adopts this ordinance. So I said, like, look, if I don't get it back, we're just gonna put it off for another couple weeks. So fingers crossed, hopefully that'll get done.
Thank you very much. With that, again, we have a proposed motion before us to accept for first reading. And again, just for clarity, I know the board understands this, but for public and any folks who may be watching, Our considerations this evening, both with our prior item and this item, are whether to accept for first reading. These would, should they be accepted for first reading, come forward at our next meeting as well for adoption or potential adoption.
I will make a motion to accept ordinance number 644 conditionally, rezoning properties for hillside gravel for the first reading. Scheduled adoption for February 23rd, 2026.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Any discussion? Yes, please.
I would just like to thank Attorney Sieber for suggesting the conditional rezone agreement. Our planning commission was very concerned just about the future use. And so she came up with that idea, and I just wanted to thank her for it.
Thank you very much. Other discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to a voice vote for this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. We will proceed to item 8, old business, of which there is none, so onward to item 9, new business. First, item A is the resolution adopting poverty exemption guidelines. This item I know had come before the board at a previous work session, and Superintendent, you had information to share?
Yes, I know there's some discussions on the poverty guidelines. I attached for you, we adopt based on the state tax commission's recommendation to the assessor, so that is in the packet as well.
Okay.
So the property exemptions are the ones that we brought forward at assessment.
Thank you very much.
I will move to approve the resolution adopting the poverty exemption income guidelines.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will proceed to a roll call vote for this item. Treasurer Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Leonard?
Aye.
Clerk Mackey?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Trustee Sherwood?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you very much. We will proceed then to item B, the resolution adopting asset level testing. Superintendent, anything to share there? Okay, thank you very much. And this, again, has come before us at a previous work session as well. I believe the same work session as the previous item, if I'm not mistaken. Information is in our packet along with the proposed motion, should anyone on the board see fit.
I will move to approve the resolution adopting the asset level testing for the Board of Review.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will again conduct a roll call vote. Clerk Mackey?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Treasurer Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Sherwood?
Aye.
Trustee Leonard?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you very much. We have a hefty packet this evening. I'll give us a second to shift papers here. Moving forward to item C, this is the resolution of second censure against Treasurer Shireen Miller. As this is something that I have brought forward, I will just share a little bit and go ahead and make the motion. First, it's important, I believe, to ensure that all members of the board, not just those of us who are in the office full-time, are fully aware of the situation. As has been documented, post or after the board had previous discussion and an action of censure at an earlier meeting related to the treasurer's conduct in office, the treasurer has been documented to have unilaterally transferred $4 million from a township checking account to a township money market account. The action was communicated to the administrative staff only after, and the amount was not communicated at any point. The staff were left to discover that on their own. Again, this is after, unfortunately, the board took previous action to attempt to bring our financial conduct back into better operational practice and to ensure that we are stewarding taxpayer funds appropriately. The risk being, of course, anything from a bounced check to a failure to document fully what is happening with township funds because the township administrative staff were not aware. A reminder for this board, well, two reminders for this board as we move into this motion. First, section 4176 of the Michigan compiled laws are the primary section of the compiled laws that outline the treasurer's duties and are specifically stated to be, according to that, order of the township board, and I quote there, or the authorized officers of the township, meaning we, this board, are responsible for taking action in this case. As you may recall, Board, in our previous discussion, the legal counsel who compiled the previous investigative report left an option for corrective action on the table that we did not take at the time, which was to petition the governor for removal from office due to misconduct. I fully recognize while that is an option before this board and an option presented by legal counsel, it is a drastic action. And I would like for us to try one final time before moving to such a drastic action to attempt to resolve these challenges within the township. Thus, this motion of second censure. And also, as the treasurer has advocated along the way, no one person should be unilaterally responsible for or hold power over these townships' finances. The potential second censure of resolution before us creates an additional check and balance in the form of dual signatory authority, so that 2 signatures would be required should the treasurer attempt to move significant amounts of funds in this way or establish relationships with bankers. With that, I will move to adopt the second censure of resolution against Township Treasurer Shireen Miller as presented in our packets.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Discussion is open.
Can you explain, so
Yeah.
2 signatures will be required? Currently, it's one person makes the action, a second person will sign, and now we would have 2 people sign?
Superintendent, could you speak to that? You've been in contact with. Thank you.
Right now, typically 2 people sign. In the internal transfer of making a transfer from one bank account to the other, we were not aware that you only need to be the administrator to make that transfer without a second signature.
Okay.
So we learned that afterwards.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so what are the controls then, like how is that enforced, or like it's through the bank itself, or how is
So
it?
now, it would be through the bank based on how the administrator sets up the access.
Okay.
So, the administrator can go in and do that. We also have internal policies that should have occurred for a transfer of this nature. So now we will change the access, should this, pass, we will change the access in the bank account so that there is, the removal of the treasurer being the administrator, and then we will add the clerk as the administrator, and then the superintendent will sign off on everything as well as the treasurer.
So I would like to
Please.
address that, yeah. I did speak with the bank about a month and a half ago, talking about a dual authorization for transfer of funds between accounts in the same bank. And she told me at that time that there is nothing in place with the bank at this time. They are changing their rules continually because security has become more of an issue. ACHs are now gonna be dual authorized, and I'm sure they'll address transferring of money even between bank accounts just to protect themselves as well. I do have a couple other things I would like to
Please.
speak to. Thank you. I want to address the February 3rd, 2026 action and read my prepared statement.
I'm sorry, is your comment in relation to this motion?
It is, yes, it is.
Okay.
For the record of the second censure, the treasurer solely initiated and processed a transfer of $4 million from a township checking account to a township money market account of the same bank. I just want to make that clear. It is stated that the transfer occurred without prior notice, which is false. An email was sent to both the superintendent and deputy clerk on February 3rd, 2026 at 9:40 a.m., informing my colleagues of my intention to move money. A formal cash flow analysis conversation could have been discussed prior to the end of the banking day, but I received no response from either. My action is supported by the State of Michigan Accounting Procedures Manual for Local Government in Michigan, Chapter 3, bank and investment accounts. Page 12. The treasurer must maintain control of all bank accounts and all cash and investments by statute must be under the control of the local unit treasurer. Michigan Common Law, MCL 41.76. The township treasurer shall receive and take charge of money belonging to the township. Charter Township Act, excerpt, Act 359 of 1947, 42.9. Township officers, powers and duties, additional officers' limitations, Section 9. No creation of any additional administrative office or combination thereof shall abolish the offices of township clerk or township treasurer, nor diminish any of the duties or responsibilities of those offices which are prescribed by law. I want to make the board aware that my knowledge of township revenue and expense has been very limited. I am not receiving deposit reports, not allowed to view invoices, do not receive a check register report listing the check number.
And
to whom
Treasurer,
it's
you've crossed the
written.
line
I'm
into
almost done.
violating our
Excuse
ethical,
me.
our,
Excuse me.
you have crossed the line into violating our ethical code of conduct in stating untruthfully, again, section 2.9, if you're not familiar with our policies yet,
I am
of
very-
truthfulness. You have full access to
I
the
do-
information that you've just stated you do not have
Excuse me.
access to.
I'm talking.
And I'm the
when
chair of this
done-
meeting, you do not have the right to violate the code of ethics. Would you like to correct your statement?
It's very true. I am not receiving.
You have access, I have personally confirmed this.
Access to a
to-
general ledger is not giving me how much the checks are written for, who they're being written to, and the number of the checks, which is something that I
And that
have
is not
always
something you
accounted
statutorily
for.
have access to.
That, excuse me, that is
Again,
part of my job.
I chose to allow you to continue
This is
by
very-
omission. Section 41.76 of the Michigan compiled laws, which you quoted.
Yep.
You quoted that the township treasurer shall receive and take charge of money belonging to the township. You ended your quote there. However, that's the first half of that statute. As it continues, or that is by law required to be paid into the township treasury and shall pay over and account for the money according to the order of the township board or the authorized officers of the township. You failed to finish reading the quote.
You
and an
failed
error-
to read the beginning of it.
Again, according to the order of the township board, this township board took action at our previous meeting and changed your authority and access.
This board does not have the authority to change my statutory duties.
I'm sorry, would you agree this is a township board?
There is one more item that I would like to make known. Because my signature, my electronic signature, is on checks that are being sent out when I don't know who they're being sent to, I don't know how much they are being sent for until after the fact, until we get that in the board packet. I am very uncomfortable with that, and I would think that any.
Once again, Treasurer, you are addressing a previous action of the board, not the current actions of the board. Do you have any comment relevant to this motion on the table?
Yes,
Please, feel free to make your comment.
I am very uncomfortable with this, not the censure, but the rules that you are attaching to it.
Thank you very much. Now, you've made some allegations. I'd like to fact check them. First of all, Superintendent, it was alleged in the treasurer's comment that you were informed prior to the transfer of funds. Is that the case?
It is not.
Thank you very much. And that is, I assume, verifiable via email if necessary, though we don't need to take a recess for that today. Clerk,
I
please.
saw the timestamp, so,
Thank you very
the
much.
superintendent is correct.
Thank you very much.
And I have a question, the timestamp is,
You made the transfer prior to the email being sent.
at what time?
Thank you very much.
I can't remember offhand.
9:40, and the email was sent at 9:40.
So you made those simultaneously? You gave the staff no advance notice?
I gave the staff notice, and then I transferred the money, but with banking, it is sitting there in a pending situation until the end of the business day is it actually recorded. I did not receive any notification to let me know that any of the concerns in this censure were an issue. If it was an issue of financial stability, you would think that someone would have reached out to me and said, Shireen,
I'll add to that comment. You would think that a treasurer of 9 years would have the competency to recognize that moving $4 million out of a checking account with no notice to staff would be of consequence.
I did notice staff.
According to you, best case scenario, your email was sent simultaneously to the transfer at 9:40. And that's assuming you're correct, of which 2 people in this room, our superintendent and a member of our board, say is not accurate.
Well, I can show you the email, and I can also show you the bank the bank statement that day.
So you did do those 2 things simultaneously. They both occurred at 9:40
They
with no
can't
notice.
occur at the same time.
Per your statement a moment ago, and again, I'll remind you that you are bound by our code of ethics, you stated that you informed the staff at 9:40 and conducted the transfer at 9:40.
Exactly.
So there was no advance notice of a
There
$4
was
million
There
transfer.
was advance notice, and this is not something that is,
Please describe the advance notice.
I sent the email
At
saying I was
9:40.
going to move money. I received no response.
Question, Treasurer,
And we
is
have
9:40 a.m. prior to 9:40 a.m.?
There's a whole 60 seconds in there.
So your expectation is that staff are expected to be able to account for a $4 million transfer in 60 seconds?
No, you
That's
have
exactly what you
all,
just said.
no, you have all day. That is a pending transaction. It is not
So
complete.
your expectation is that they
until
would
the end of
undo
the
what you
day.
said and what you did?
Pardon me?
Your expectation is that beyond the 60 seconds, they would have to review and potentially undo your transfer.
They would speak to me and let me know because I
And it is
have,
not your responsibility as treasurer for 9 years to speak to them prior and understand the implications of your $4 million transfer?
I haven't spoke to them in the past. When I opened
We
them,
understand you haven't spoke to them in the past. Is that your responsibility as the treasurer of this township?
when I opened the
I asked you a
money
yes or no
market
question, treasurer. Is that your responsibility or not?
to speak to
To
staff,
inform the staff
I
so that
did
they
inform
may.
staff.
I asked a yes or no question. Is it your responsibility as the treasurer of 9 years of this township to inform the staff with adequate advance notice of a $4 million transfer, given that significant duties were shifted at the last meeting to account for that transfer, any potential outstanding checks or obligations that may create an insufficient funds situation? Is that your responsibility as treasurer?
I informed staff.
Is that your responsibility as treasurer?
I have a question.
Please.
Is this a pretty standard transfer, $4 million in and out on a regular basis, or is this kind of a unique situation?
This is a unique situation. The superintendent had just completed a tax disbursement for the township, so this money was sitting in the checking account, and as I said, I have transferred money into our money market, did check on dual authorization through the bank, and did inform staff.
That's a fair question. Did you ask the superintendent or staff if it would create any problems prior to initiating that transfer?
I informed staff.
Did you ask the question? Please answer my question, treasurer. Did you ask the superintendent or staff if it would create any financial problems for the township if you made that transfer prior to doing it?
I did not. I
Thank you.
figured if there was an issue, they would reach out to me. And
But you didn't inform them until 60 seconds before you did.
I heard nothing.
I move to call the question.
Support.
There's a motion and support. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay.
Nay.
We still have to do a roll call for the resolution. That was a motion to call the question. The question will then be called to adopt the second motion of censure as written. That will be a roll call vote. I'm an aye. Clerk Mackey?
Aye.
Trustee Leonard?
Aye.
Treasurer Miller?
Nay.
Trustee Sherwood?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you very much. We will proceed to our next item this evening, which is, pardon me, my papers have gotten all mixed up here. We're going to proceed to the outcomes and potential actions of the annual retreat that we just held. As you all know, and forgive me for moving papers while I share this, As you all know on this board, we discussed several tangible actions around which there was generally, it seemed, board support during our retreat. However, we chose not to take action during the true retreat for transparency purposes, of course, and also to allow the board to move past and reflect on the retreat. Superintendent, several of these potential items involve you, so I want to give you the opportunity to share, But as a reminder, for the board, we discussed the following, of which I will move as I brought this forward. 1, to create up to 1 full-time employee as needed by the superintendent. Currently, that need is for human resources. Second, to provide a $1,500 per month stipend to the superintendent beginning January 2026 for additional duties as previously assigned by the board. That stipend will be reviewed in 6 months, should it be adopted. And third, to allow beginning Friday, February 20th, 2026, for the public hours of the Township Hall to revert to in-staff only work on Fridays, to accommodate the staff's need to review additional internal controls and training of process improvements. Regular Friday hours would then resume on August 21st, 2026. I will move to adopt these action items as discussed.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Discussion's open, and again, Superintendent, if you had anything to share, especially on that FTE, of course, you are welcome to discuss as well. Thank you. Is there any discussion amongst the board? Yes, please.
I just wanted to speak to the last bullet point, the public hours changing. Just to update that if there are election-related deadlines during that time period, the clerk's office will be available to fulfill those duties.
Thank you very much. And thank you to you and your team for that willingness to do so. Is there any other discussion on the motion on the table?
I wanted to speak to the need for human resources. I think this is a good action. I think we've placed a lot of extra duties on the superintendent's plate, and I think having a delegated person separate from the superintendent is really important in this case for staff well-being and just maintaining some level of separation. So I think this is a really good action.
Thank you very much. Additional discussion? Seeing none? We will proceed to, I believe a voice vote should be sufficient. I'll check that with you, counsel.
Yep.
Perfect. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay.
Nay.
Thank you very much. The motion carries. We have one final new business item this evening, the Road Commission Participating or PAR funds contract. This has been discussed along the way, most recently at our work session tonight. Of course, a proposed motion is in our packet should this board see fit.
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent to sign the PAR fund contract with the Road Commission of Kalamazoo for 2026.
I'll support.
Thank you very much. There's a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will proceed to a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes our new business this evening. No items were removed from the consent agenda, so we will proceed to board member reports. Trustee Sherwood.
I don't have any real updates. I do feel pretty deep disappointment right now. As a board, our job is to provide stability, direction, and support for our community. And I think what's going on right now provides only distraction and injects large elements of chaos that isn't really helping the situation locally and beyond that for our residents. I think we all need to play our role and do it well. I think communication is important, and I think being considerate of how our actions impact others on this board and township should always be front of mind. And yeah, I'm just disappointed. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Trustee Leonard?
I agree. I don't have any major updates. I agree with Trustee Sherwood that I am just feeling overwhelmingly disappointed. And I want to apologize to residents for having to read information about this. I think it would be very tough if I was not on the board and had more detailed information. So just know that we are following our counsel and doing the best that we can to make sure that we're mitigating any risk. So I feel good about the actions that we have been taking, but I agree. I think Trustee Sherwood said it very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Treasurer Miller.
Yeah, I too am disappointed. I'm disappointed in not having due process.
Treasurer
dis-
Miller, I will remind you again that
Excuse
your
me,
comments are
this-
bound by our code of ethics, including truthfulness, section 2.9.
I have served in this capacity of Kalamazoo Township Treasurer for 9 years. I have been elected and re-elected twice. I was raised in this community and returned here because of my deep commitment, respect, and love for the people of this community. And I say the people of this community. Again, I am disappointed as well. I'm disappointed that my fellow board members didn't even take an opportunity to speak to me about many of the false allegations that were in the report.
Treasurer Miller,
the
again, you are
labor
bound by
attorney.
our code of ethics.
Thank you very much.
Not just truthfulness. Do you have a comment that would abide by our code of ethics? Thank you very much. Clerk Mackey.
I just would like to say that despite the challenges that our township is facing right now, I feel very confident in our ability to continue providing services to the residents of Kalamazoo Township. We recently held a board retreat, and while it may have been a bit awkward, we discussed goals, and I feel confident that we will continue to move towards those goals. We have a lot of really wonderful things happening here. So we will get through these days, and I'm confident of that. And I also just wanted to say that today, Kalamazoo Township, we hosted the CCTA, KCTA, the Metro Transit board meeting here. It's a joint board meeting, and everyone was really pleased with how the room was set up. So I just wanted to thank a staff member, Denise, and her team for doing such a great job and helping us to host that meeting.
Thank you very much. I regret that I feel the need to share this evening, but we did, first of all, on a positive note, hold a board retreat, as Clerk Mackey mentioned, and discussed many opportunities for this township and this board to contribute to this township in the year to come. I'll mention a couple of those in a moment, but another item that we discussed at our retreat was our board policy handbook, to which I have referred many times in this meeting and in many recent meetings. And I wanted to share a couple of things for the public's benefit who may not have a physical copy of this handbook, so that you know what is being referenced. First, I will say the board, as I've shared previously, has a policy handbook of which we've adopted, and it includes a code of ethics, essentially a handbook that governs our practices and interactions and communications in our capacities as members of this board. We discussed and revisited that board policy manual and code of ethics during our retreat, and to a person agreed that with one very minor calendar exception, the timing upon which we revisit, the board policies, specifically to move them from the first meeting of the year to our annual retreat. Other than that detail, we all agreed that this board policy manual is appropriate, makes sense, and to continue to abide by it. This policy manual, like I mentioned, has a code of ethics that includes very explicit behavior expectations from, and I'll quote a few just for the public's benefit, truthfulness, that the board shall not knowingly make false or misleading statements. Others such as their anti-harassment, of course, preferential consideration, personal conducts, that while we recognize everyone's First Amendment rights, including members of the board, that all board members should refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges, or verbal attack upon the character or motives of other members of the township board, other boards, commissions, committees, employees, and volunteers. We have procedures in this manual about how to handle complaints, both related to members of the board in our capacities and also from members of the board, all of which you have seen play out over the past several weeks and months in real time. The reason I share all of that, and I'll share that our board policy manual is available online on our website if you'd like to read in detail for yourself the rules that we play by. Coming back to the retreat, we discussed, and I reflected on during our retreat, that as the chair of this board and as the chair of these meetings, it is my responsibility to remind all of us, myself included, that we've agreed to play by these rules. We've agreed to abide by this content and abide by our stated ethical code, and clearly, we can no longer afford to play fast and loose with those rules, which leads me to the question that I've been asked several times by members of the public, residents of the township: why now? Why are we dealing with a clearly contentious situation now that has existed for 9 years? And I'm going to answer the question by not answering it, because I have not been here for 9 years. So I cannot speak to what interpersonal, what relational, what political dynamics existed in the past. I can only speak for myself as supervisor. I am bound, when complaints are brought to me about members of the board, to initiate an investigation. That's what happened on December 17th of this year. Complaints came to my desk, and so I initiated a third-party investigation by a legal counsel to lawfully and objectively find the facts and document them for this board. That report is also public, and our actions since have been in response to that report, which is a matter of established fact at this point, and in compliance with both Michigan state statutes and our board policy manual. Additional actions, like the one we took this evening, are in response to a failure to comply with the outcome of that investigation and the lawful actions that this board took. All of that is for public information. I wanted to share a couple of positive things quickly as well. First, at our board retreat, we also spent our entire second day, so a good 3/4 of a day, talking about economic development and what we can do in this coming year to help spur economic growth in this township, from downtown development authorities to corridor improvement authorities. And we are now, after a year of being together as a board, in a position to begin to really talk about them and move forward with items. So look for that in the coming year. I also wanted to share an award that happened to come across my desk today when I came to this meeting. It's called the E-Cities Honored Community. This is a University of Michigan award, so it's a piece of paper, but what it said to me, along with the corresponding letter, is that University of Michigan, their College of Business specifically, analyzes communities across Michigan to measure economic growth. And what they found for us over the past 5 years is that we're a township on the grow and on the move. We're outpacing our peer communities in commercial property development, industrial property development, availability of those, even though we're constrained and we're trying to find opportunities to continue to develop. And we're a government that's growing in response. We are, of course, building a new fire station, a new township hall. Those are no longer theoretical. Those are projects that are actually happening. You can drive down Gull Road and see the construction happening. All of that to say, despite our challenges that we're currently dealing with, I know that this board and the staff are committed to continuing to grow this township and to pour themselves into it. So I thank you all for that. That's all I have this evening. Superintendent, your report.
Newsletter, I'm hearing that today they started getting mailboxes, so that's a good thing. And just to make sure we say out loud, with the local road fund that we approved tonight, we actually approved $860,000 of improved roads throughout the township.
Right.
That is with a $400,000 match from the road commission, and then we sponsor the additional $400,000. So I just wanted to say that out loud. It's a lot of work that's going to go on next year. It's the most work that we have done in the last 5 years, as I check back. So a lot of road improvements starting this spring, so that should be great for everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. With that, we will proceed to the second public comment period this evening. Once again, if you'd like to make a public comment, feel free to step to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to use as you wish.
Hi, just want to continue a bit of public comment that I didn't get to finish earlier. So to reiterate on the trying to navigate the political situation nationally and a growing disapproval or even a lack of trust with government policies and politics in general, I think it would behoove the township to explore opportunities to try and get people to be engaged. To refer a quick thing, studies show that when it comes to voting in general, not many people vote across the country, and as closer you get down to township or state levels, that number gets smaller. So I think that's also reflective in people's lack of faith in public services and public governance. So addressing that by either doing town halls with political allies, political parties, and maybe even inviting political organizations to attend so that they may also bring their own people in and bring in their own agendas and proposals, and also allow discussion for people to try and meet their issues and come up in that same space with possibility to address them. Other than that, I'd like to add that I know the board has been doing issues around the treasury, but I would say that even though it is ugly, maintaining or keeping yourself accountable as members of the board, as members of public government, is important and is healthy. So it may not be pretty, it may not be the best of times, but it is important and is the sign that you are doing a good job. If there was no one ever in the history of government to be found at fault for anything, there's probably an issue. So that's it for my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional public comment? Yes, please.
I also wanted to share a little bit more about congratulating the township for moving for first reading of the ordinance 645, because I sense that's an effort to try to increase housing. I've heard that twice today. And if, for example, if 4 houses, in my mind, were built because of this ordinance, that would be considered a success, I think. And so I looked this morning. I have for a couple of years, I've been keeping track of Airbnbs or short-term rentals, Airbnb, Vrbo, companies like that. And today I noticed that there are 4 complete houses in Kalamazoo Township, 2 in Eastwood and 2 in Westwood, that are on those short-term rental websites, and that is in violation. If they're rented at the frequency that they're advertising themselves, that's in violation of the township ordinance. So in better enforcement of our short-term rental ordinance restrictions would create, in this case, 4 houses instantly. Wouldn't have to hit any nail to a board, and you'd have a house there. If someone would choose to rent that house for long-term use or sell it and get it back on the market instead of operating a mini hotel in our neighborhoods like that. Also, like the previous speaker, I want to congratulate the board. Even though you feel a lot of angst tonight, I feel good about your actions, and I think residents would too, because a friend is the one who tells you have broccoli stuck in your teeth, and so you are addressing things instead of glossing over problems, and that gives me a sense that you are stronger in that sense. And to reiterate, the township board over those 9 years has, as the investigative report itemizes, has done diligent efforts to try to respect voters' choices and operate within the law, but also help the treasurer to succeed. And as the time that the deputy treasurer has been absent since last August, which is again violation of the statutory duty not to have a deputy treasurer, then the chaos became overwhelming to staff, I sense. And so that's why you see a difference over in the last few months of the year, culminating with the winter 2025 tax billing near calamity, I think is the word that was used in the investigative report. So again, thank you. And again, I am shocked that me and a previous speaker are the only ones who have spoken in support of the board's actions of us. I thought the room would be filled with sharpened pitchforks for when you know there's documentation of treasurer making personal discretionary choices about who has to pay their late fees or who has to pay a rental registration fee. That is so inequitable and undemocratic that people like me have to make up for the losses that were made to personal people who may be promised votes or other favors. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional public comment? Seeing none in the room. Superintendent, excuse me, is there any public comment on Zoom? Thank you very much. That concludes public comment this evening. There is no closed session on the agenda, so we will adjourn at 7:55. We're adjourned. Thank you all.